So welcome to another one of our Treflach Farm mini videos, the companion videos to the wonderful Steve Jones's Sector 39 12 Principles of Permaculture videos. Today we're going to talk about principle number 1, observe and interact, and specifically how it's been used and taken on board and implemented on Treflach Farm. So, Steve, would you give us a really brief, because your video will be freely available next door to it, and that's wonderful, loads of detail, but just a really quick overview.
We said observe and interact.
Yep.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's the kind of the core of the idea. So the first thing is that we're all experiencing the world in the same way, but we translate it differently according to our knowledge.
We interpret it,
we interpret it in
contextualise.
So, and through permaculture really trying to encourage us to see the world afresh. Really to because it's constantly changing also. Mm-hmm. So, let's kick off by saying permaculture is not a belief system. We're trying to say use your own observation, build on your own experiences.
Okay, so the story that I wanted to tell this morning, and using the principle of observe and interact, is when I was growing up, I used to observe and interact with my dad and with his friends, and they'd sit around the kitchen table in the farmhouse kitchen drinking coffee for hours a day, seemingly. But they would bemoan the modern industrialised farming techniques. They weren't happy necessarily with the application of man-made fertilisers, pesticides, herbicides. It was just part of what you do these days. Yeah. With the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of permaculture, we can see that those practices are not in keeping with regenerative farming, with clean air, clean soil, building soil, clean water, happy and healthy animals, happy and healthy people eating those happy and healthy animals. And so when I moved back to the farm, I wanted to do things differently. Steve gave me those tools, the permaculture principles, to be able to look at the farm in a different way. Yeah. And today we're looking at our wetland, and you can see a jacksnipe just flying over there. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at our wetland. This used to be a bowling green of a field. It really was. It was a grey, semi-improved grassland, and it was drained, absolutely drained, and just to produce grass for the dairy herd. But then we started to think about, well, what else could it be? The drainage lines, the land drains were starting to fill up. They needed ditching and replacing, and that expenditure just was out of scale of the benefit that we would get from the grass, given that the dairy herd had left. So we looked at this ground and we thought, what else could actually happen? And to start off with, we decided we would do nothing with the ground at all. We'd just leave it, and with the drainage ditches were filled up, and it started to become waterlogged. And you can see behind us, 10 years later, that we've got reeds and rushes, all self-seeded.
Now, you just said we're looking at this at the worst time of year to see the diversity, because nothing's really started to grow back yet. But just looking at the ground, you can see it's really different. Right?
When you walk across it, it's like a sponge, is it right? It's just absolutely. And you look at the varieties. We've done species surveys over the last 10 years, and the varieties are just going through the roof.
So you can just imagine how this kind of blinkered narrowness of thinking that maybe would have slowly taken over perhaps people like your dad or, with contemporaries, where they're thinking pasture. Mm-hmm. So you're thinking about designing to fulfill functions. We talk about that, where the only function you're really interested in is, I just got to produce milk, right? And that's and
therefore I need grass. And where's that? We need to drain every field available. We need to cut down woodlands. We need to take out fence lines, hedge lines, because we just need pasture.
So bang goes the biodiversity, bang goes the wider stability of the whole farm, because we're thinking about short-term and immediate yields within a narrow range. So within this principle, we go, hang on, can we just take a step back a little bit? What's the bigger trajectory for this? One is the dairy industry is a bloody nightmare industry to be in. That's another sort of thing.
Another conversation.
But also is we've got, this pattern, you weren't the only farm to do this. Everybody did this. So, like in Wales, we've lost 96% of our herb-rich meadows and wetlands and things like that. Man, this is it's a catastrophe. So you've now taken a broader look.
Absolutely. And we're looking at given the different trajectory of the farm, we still need an economic output from this field.
Yeah.
So what else can we get from this field that actually we're not going to get from quantities of dry matter of grass? Well, actually, we can still get lots and lots of things, useful benefits from this field. We get the addition of biodiversity, and that's lovely, but it doesn't necessarily bring in any physical cash. But what we do is we build soil, and we reduce nutrient losses. We clean the water as it passes through our landscape, which is important because we've got a triple SI a site of special scientific interest next door, which is managed by the Wildlife Trust. So they're very interested in how their wetland is impacted by the way that we manage our watercourse. We've got a parcel of woodland planted up behind us on the high ground that is not waterlogged, so we've got a timber a crop there. We've got the ability to interact with people who are interested in coming to look at the biodiversity, and we've got wetland birds returning to the farm that just weren't here before. We've got a number of different species of snipe, jack snipe and others in the wetland, and we've had curlews come back to the farm as well. And then also the next thing I wanted to talk about is the pool itself. So we've got a half-acre pool, and we actually take, on an annual basis, we take material out of the pool and we use those nutrients to spread on the ground. That benefits the ground by not having to buy in organophosphate fertilisers, so reduces our farm expenditure and also keeps us organic. But then it also improves the water quality by reducing the nutrient load.
So it's like a nutrient trap.
Exactly.
And so they're going back to the permaculture thing that we're trying to move towards is we want every element to perform multiple functions, to support multiple functions. So each investment of time, energy and resource has got to do more than just give us grass, right? It's got to also support these other wider functions. You're moving into on-farm tourism, education, farmers markets, sort of inclusion on the farm. And it's so important then that people can come in and enjoy this wonderful...
Absolutely. And after 10 years, the difference is dramatic of the numbers of varieties of species, flora and fauna, the cleanliness of the water, the cleanliness of the air from the trees. It's just... And we're reduction in inputs, but also reduction in flooding further downstream, because we've got these the capacity to retain the water high in the landscape.
You've turned your farm into a sponge, my man. So she says, yeah, which is holding that water, slowing it down, stopping Shrewsbury flooding every time it rains in Plynlimon,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes it a beautiful place to live, and we encourage you to come and get involved, come and see us. We've got the farmers markets, we've got the farm shop. It's a beautiful day, come and say hello.